Hello and welcome to the official ANEW Esports stream. We want to apologize for some of those technical difficulties that we were just facing, but hopefully everything is all set up. You can see, of course, that we're already far forward into the game here, but just a little bit of context. We've got ANEW Esports fighting off against Maryville University. Both teams currently tied for the placements in the Ocean Division. Winter! What a shame. That's going to be first one going to Winter. My apologies there. Either way, I am your play-by-play caster Z, joined by the lovely hat as my color. As you can tell, we're already pretty far forward here.
Oh, we're about to see a second kill here.
Mike gets chased down. Fire. He's going to get collapsed on from Iconic. Hopefully things are going to slow down here to finally get everything organized. Hat, how are you doing? Welcome to the stream, bud.
I'm doing well. It's definitely been a long time as we see another...
Mike coming up top lane here, straight into Niles. Niles is able to stack up that grid a little bit, push them both off. That wave's not going anywhere.
Exactly. Thank you again, everybody, for joining. Colorcaster Hat here, coming at you live from Summoner's Rift. A big part about this game, if we don't see Winter come in.
No, Winter's definitely going to come in here. He's going to look, get that dredge line, sink, hook, and hinker. We do see the flash come forward, but it's going to be responded to immediately. Winter with that Ignite's going to pick that up. Shady's going to get stunned down. Meanwhile there, he's going to be able to make his way out of it, but 2 kills up for the side of ANEW Esports here.
And both supports doing a really good job of rotating towards the mid lane to try to find that pick, except the fact that the push allowed by Fire really presented itself to Winter here. So overall, this game is going to be exciting. We are 5 minutes in, and even though we did have a delay, it is good to get you action right away.
Yes. If you could take us back real quick, Sam, give us, or I'm sorry, Hat, give us a little bit of a rundown here of the draft that we didn't quite get to cover.
Yeah, so while we didn't really get into the ban phase here, a big part of this draft was making sure that Dragon was secured from what I firmly believe on Maryville's side. They can have the push with Syndra in the mid lane whenever they want to, as long as they're able to sustain that mid lane, which is why you saw Winter come up. They're really trying to kind of push and pull that dissonance between the two teams. But as we're seeing, our first Dragon of the game.
Yeah, we've already got a little bit of the rotation coming out here from the side of ANEW. No surprise there. They've been across the map, very controlling, especially with great rotations from Winter here on the Nala. So no surprise to see this first Dragon completely picked up for them with that priority they've gained.
Mm-hmm. And while level 1 and 2 might have been hard for the side of ANEW here in the bot lane, they're still able to establish priority.
We see Shady stepping up here onto Mike. He's going to land that Zenith Blade. We see the chain come through. Dredge line is dodged by Iconic. Shade picks up the kill on Mike. Meanwhile, we see the bullet rain come down. Sure, he looks for the escape. But we finally rumble. The Fire is made through. Going to be stunned out. Meanwhile, the Phelios is just shredding here as we see the Zenith Blade go for the additional stun. Winter tries to pick up Iconic, but it's no dice. Another kill for value. A good response immediately from Maryville University after that Dragon take there.
Yeah, and while we are seeing ANEW grab that first Ocean Dragon, it's just that clean rotation, knowing that they're down there. We saw Maryville U come and take the fight that was most optimal, and that's what you see at this level. You take optimal fights and you put yourself in those positions. Rarely are you going to see people get caught out, and when they do, it's because of a larger process. And so it's exciting to see that come today. That gold lead is really looking at me in the eyes here and telling me Maryville U has taken this early game a little by storm.
Yeah, they've actually managed to completely flip it around here pretty quickly within the last minute or so. A lot of that gold being focused into Value and Shady, pairing through with the great priority they've managed to gain for themselves in the bot lane. But other than that, it's still up in the air. I'd like to point out how strong the early game bot lane you have coming through from ANEW here. Shoryu and Winter, of course, predominant with the Misfortune Nautilus. Of course, that's going to be standard meta here early no matter what. Value takes a little bit more time on the Aphelios here, but it already looks like Maryville has started to scale him up appropriately, so no surprise there. He may actually get pretty clean forward into the mid game without a problem.
Exactly. I'm looking at ANEW here, and they are trying to set up for these next super objectives.
But look at mid lane, the flash forward. We see the Solar Flare go for the slow. The Zenith Blade going to land onto Fire. The chain not quite going to hit. He's trying to escape. That Calorim's going to hit, though. Value comes over. Now we got Mike trying to assess something with that flag and drag, but nothing's picked up. They're pushing them off of this Rift Herald. Meanwhile, Maryville taking great priority in the mid, reassessing and picking back up the Rift Herald priority.
And they're able to
still
do
spacing.
that. Yeah, they were able to do that quite cleanly here because their team style right now has to play a little reactionary. You have the Leona ulti, you have the Philios ult, you have your Scatter of the Weak with Syndra, and that really...
They're waiting. Call the Forge God gonna come through. The Calvary gonna land. They get the double knockup. Meanwhile, we got that Syndra on the back line. Great stun. Unleash power. The shield's gonna save him, but not before the Moonlight Vigil crashes down. The Root's gonna come through onto Winter there. He's gonna be able to pair out. But yeah, Maryville coming out on top there.
That's exactly kind of what I was about to say before. More and more fighting keeps happening, and that's a delightful game to be in, is when you have Maryville's comp. You play a little bit reactionary because you wait for people to step up and use their abilities, because you can easily, if you sidestep or if you time it right, use that Center Scatter of the Weak. You can use a Solar Flare to stop a team from coming onto you. The only issue, of course, is we haven't quite strayed away from the Rumble J4 Leona meta, and so I think these picks are going to be highly contested in games to come, because that carpet, while used in a I'm dying fashion from Firefire, is going to be extremely useful around objectives to come. And with these Orin upgrades coming in, ANEW still has a chance to set themselves up in a really good spot, but they have to start taking fights that are more beneficial, or at least anticipating fights that are going to come when they start those objectives.
Yeah, they've definitely been a bit too far forward, a little aggressive in their playstyle here, and they constantly get collapsed on by Maryville University, coming through and looking to punish. If I was another team in the UPL, I would be almost taken surprised by ANEW and how quick they're running to this, but Maryville has no problems coming onto the Rift and responding accordingly, and that's why we see them up on the lead here. So if I was ANEW, I'd take it a step back, slow it down. You've got a team that has great team fight composition, so try to push back and rely on that and take the more beneficial fights. Get the vision control back on the map, maybe look for the objective control. Either way, though, they definitely need to slow the bleeding down and reassess their situation here.
That they do. I think as soon as they can get a clean rotation where we see Shoryu enter the mid lane with Winter, their ult combos are really great if you can pair it with Firefire's Carpet. The fact that they aren't going to be allowed to rotate faster, because it doesn't fit in Maryville's game plan, and currently they do have control.
Ooh, Shady here, gonna be stepping up, gets that stun onto Mike. We see the Moonlight Vigil come through for a massive Gravitum Root. Mike's gonna be taken out from Iconic as he launches forward, gonna get that double kill for himself. Vordor now with that teleport in a bad spot. He's gonna be able to flash over the wall, but that's gonna be resource down here. Still looking to fight this one out. We see the call as the Forge God gonna be used. The knockup with the bullet time paired through. Firefire gonna be the one to pick that one up. They look to still chase here. We see that Bro Proc go down as Rift Herald lands itself in the mid lane. They're gonna be looking to pick up that first turret there shortly.
And they should. It'll be hard. It might actually have one little plating left now that I scroll over to it. Really good answer from Maryville. They did lose the Wolf's Claw here, but now they can start
up on
dragging.
the Niles. He's able to get the Showstopper out of the way. The Flag and Drag. He's got that full stack grid with a great flash. He's going to be able to pick up Winter. Meanwhile, they look for the chase, but it's a 1-for-1. The man has received something as well as that tower there. Good for him. Meanwhile, Maryville picked themselves up the second Dragon here, bring it to a 1-to-1 balance.
Exactly. And now we see the Inferno take over the Rift, where bushes get burned down and the Dragon Pit becomes just a little bit wider. This is definitely going to benefit the side of Maryville here, as they have a lot of burst potential. If they get Soul, it's going to be really hard for ANEW later. So it becomes this dragon game of, can we either split the dragons and extend this game out longer so we can catch back up if you're on the side of ANEW, or it becomes Maryville then prioritizing bot side as soon as they come up and pushing the tempo, which is something that they have done really well in the past in almost every game that they do, which is once you find a tempo, you're able to push that lead in what we would know as snowballing.
Well, let me tell you, Hat, what I can tell immediately here is ANEW has a really great sense for early, but not before Firefire is going to get launched on here. We see the Unleashed Power forces that flash out of him. He's going to have to make the escape there, but that's down for 5 minutes. But to pull back and reassess here just to get it cleared as we see them slow down a bit. I believe ANEW has a really strong pacing when it comes to the early game. They're able to respond, get there quickly. It's a very risky assessment that they pull for themselves, but doing so, they are able to pull somewhat of a snowball and get a lead early on. In comparison, this time they've run into quite a bit of an issue given how quickly Maryville has been able to respond time in and time again, whether it be with the full rotations or the entire team coming through to just collapse upon ANEW. ANEW, in my sense here, has gotten the rug pulled out from under them.
And I think it wasn't warranted. The Maryville's game plan is similar across the board. They wait for you to make a mistake, and as soon as you do, it's fight, 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 right? And ANEW made a small mistake around a dragon pit, and as soon as you got that gold lead, you're able to fight. And with Aphelios, especially Aphelios and Leona, you can pretty much take in a fight all across the map.
Flash,
here.
Mike Young, Cataclysm onto the Cinder there, forces a flash. We see the Hijack Stone, uses that on the back line to get the Nautilus off here. The CC, Solar Flare, massive, as Valley picks up the kill onto Five Fire there. They're looking for the continual chase. That head, gonna be getting the stun there onto Mike. He's gonna be caught out. Niles picking up that one in response. Winter able to step up, use that dredge line to make his move out of there, but not before the Zenith Blade hits Vordor. A great dash, Unstoppable manages to get him out of that fight. They're still looking potentially for the chase here on to Winter. You see the rotation from Shady down towards the bot lane. He's not willing to give this up too early yet.
No,
another dredge line. He's leading him for a chase.
Let me get out.
Shady is far quicker here. Another dredge line, not quite gonna hit. Finally, the stun comes through. Iconic, there's the Zenith Blade. Winter trying to make it under turret here. He's fully given up. The kill's gonna go over to Shady before Iconic can pick that up for himself. He chose the lesser of two evils.
That he did, and with a 5,000 gold lead kind of piling up against ANEW, they really need to start focusing on parts of the map where they can catch out any of these Maryville players, whether it's that split pushing Aphelios, if they can kind of zone out a Leona here, which is really difficult to do without the Orin or the Rumble available. And so now they're forced to either fight as 5 around these objectives in which they do not have the power spikes needed to do such a thing.
No, they do not. Shady being a massive turning point here in this game as a whole. Leona, such a strong suit and being able to get in dominantly here. Looking at ANEW, they're trying to take this Rift Terror. We're going to see that call. The Forge God come through here. Dredgeline going to hit us. It gets double knockout. That Bolt Type going to come through with the crit stack. Force that shield's not quite going to hit. The Hijack with the response gets the knockup. Ashore uses that cleanse to get out of the back. Winter's going to go down. Meanwhile, as we see another kill go onto Mike, the chase ensues as Value flashes forward here, using that Severum on the Vordor. The Brill proc not quite going to do much as a double kill goes the way of Iconic. Using the chain there, he lips forward onto the blue buff. Either way here, they're looking to combat it out, but that's going to be 3 for 1 in favor of Maryville University. Great fight around the rift there.
And great ult combo from ANEW. The only issue in which you would see this from, I don't know, your solo queue games is you ulted the tanks. You ulted the set and you ulted the Leona, which if any other person on their team, if you're able to get Wolf's Claw in there or Iconic, oh my goodness, that fight is a completely different fight. But because you were not able to do that, they were just going to, they pulled back and then they went forward because you weren't able to kill Shady. And so as the Leona CC bot we were talking about, you can still be a good presence in that fight. And I do want to point out, Iconic is putting on a clinic, able to hit the targets that they need to hit and set it up well for their team. They might not be, 6-0 as we see Value is, but they are certainly able to kind of take advantage of a team fight. And it's that in the middle of a fight assessment, and if you can do that really well, you can really put yourself above other players you're competing against.
Definitely. I see a glimpse of hope here for ANEW. They definitely have the Wombo combo down for them if they can manage to land it on the appropriate target here. A lot of push forward from the face here from Mike, getting real aggressive in front of Shady there. Nothing to come up with that one. They're trying to manage the contention of this dragon here, not willing to let the Infernal continue the snowball in the favor of Maryville University. They're able to step forward here, but if time tells again, do not run into that dragon pit. You're going to get collapsed on. Either way, the footing here, pretty aggressive. Mike going to be using that flying drag. Gets a massive Cataclysm in the backline, but he's getting rooted. Meanwhile, from the shade there, we see the whole time defense Value is going to get killed. Meanwhile, Five Fire's able to pick up that kill. He's going to get stunned out as Border gets chased down here. Not able to finish the call of the Forge God. It's going to be a double kill for Five Fire. It's going to be 4 for 2 in favor of Maryville University. Absolutely picking this one up so easily.
That they do. And it's at this point, it really does come down to positioning and team placement around an objective. I think what ANEW thought was that Dragon hadn't been started yet, and so they're able to potentially clear out vision. And as soon as they saw Niles, they had to scramble and get to a place where they felt comfortable. And it just didn't show. And so now they are kind of trying to keep their head above water. They still have turrets, there's still objectives to be claimed, but right now they really need to kind of collect themselves as this game isn't over, but it's slowly and slowly kind of filling the room with water, as it were.
I think Maryville University is showing the massive gap in skill here between ANEW Esports, respectively. You're seeing the rug, like I said, pulled out from under them. And honestly, you put it well yourself. It seems like they're kind of drowning here, and their head is just barely above water. While they basically went with a great comp early and managed to draft it appropriately for something that could work out early into the mid with great team fights if you get the snowball rolling. In terms of the skill matchup, that bot lane has taken off. Iconic through the jungle has absolutely washed over Mike here on the Jarvan, and it's just not looking great for them.
No, it's not. And I think that when you do draft what they drafted, especially with Mike Young here, you really have to get something going as soon as you get level 3 on J4. Your full team has to rotate. You have to be the one to get first tower and first dragon just to set yourself up appropriately, and they just weren't allowed to do that. Whether it be this game or next game, I hope to see ANEW come with a little bit more fire in all of their plays, because currently they're kind of stemming the flow, right? They're trying to get that carpet back under them, as it were.
Absolutely, but I think it may be just too late. They don't have quite the carry that they can position that makeup gold on, and it can be appropriate. I mean, look at the massive difference across the board here. The Aphelios has already made it to the point where he's got that mid-game strength. I don't believe the Misfortune can ever get back to the point where she's on top in any way.
They're about to get glassed on.
Might be strong. You see Iconic get the hijack there. The equalizer's going to come down as we see the solar flare get the stun on to 5-5 there. The chain's going to launch forward with the unleashed power. Value going to be able to pick that one up with the Inferno. Meanwhile, it's going to be one kill in favor for Maryville. They're able to pick them up, as you saw. ANEW Esports just too far forward, and at that point, when going past the midline on the map is too far forward, you really got to start thinking about what can I do possibly next game.
And that, or
Iconic here. Ooh, that chain just barely missing onto Winter.
Yeah, no, something that I am slowly figuring out is maybe ANEW wasn't ready for the Silas pick. Because it is the taking the ults, the Call of the Forest God, laying down your own carpet that has kind of turned around team fights for the side of Maryville here. And so I'm probably going to expect a Silas ban coming in shortly because Iconic has been doing a good job of putting the fights in their team's favor.
The biggest shame that we really can't quite put the context to is we didn't quite get to see the draft, so we don't really know how this was lined up as a whole for either team. I can't say either one got out-drafted or drafted better because I never even got to see the timing or positioning on some of these picks.
Yeah, we are seeing Maryville push through mid lane. They're trying to set a priority in all lanes. They don't want to stall. That's what Maryville is trying to avoid here. They want to create these high impact plays that keep pushing the water level higher, keep building that tempo. As you see, Iconic's doing that, stealing camps, pushing lanes, and we see 5-Fire taking that in turret and hopefully giving the team just a little bit more room to breathe.
It's something.
Yeah, it's something. As this next dragon comes up, and I don't believe that's Soul.
Great stun, Solar Flare, Zenith Blade, Iconic. They try to repeat with the bullet time, but that damage is just not there. Another kill goes the way of Iconic. And with Mike Young down here, that Baron is all but Maryville's.
That it is, and it's a good play. As soon as you get the Baron, now you can start sieging almost every lane, and the siege potential on Maryville is incredibly great, but we do see a carpet up from 5-Fire.
We see the Call of the Forge God going to come through there, gets the knock up only onto Shady. They're potentially looking for the steal. Doesn't matter. Kill goes over to Maryville. We do see the backline as we see Aphelios go down. We see the hijack come through as it uses the showstopper there. Niles there comes through. Finally, we see Call of the Forge God not quite going to hit 5-Fire, but the stun does land. As a result, the man's going to go down, and 3 kills going over the way of Maryville University here.
And we see them rotating to Dragon. The smite is up for Iconic. They were able to obviously secure the Baron, and I think ANEW played that Baron play well. They got called Forge God, they laid down the Equalizer, but it just wasn't enough, and they weren't at the point where they could do enough burst damage to any objective so far. Um, I'm kind of curious to see where they take this draft, as I'm fully expecting Maryville to siege and potentially end the game off of one big team fight. But we'll see if ANEW has anything tucked up their sleeve that they figured out from playing in this game
Wow,
for the last 23 minutes.
shady.
Yeah, right?
A little bit of the taunt there.
And if
Bodar
you,
knows if he gets caught out, he can't do anything, so he's just pushing his luck there.
and that's what you do with, like, if you're playing Blitzcrank, you just emote next to them, or you know, control two, and they make you think you're hooking, and so you could potentially bet at a flash there. I think Shady was
Shay's
just
pushing the. He's playing a little. You know what it's doing.
hitting that
little
ass
game,
button.
mind game.
As they start
There's
coming down mid, they are split pushing with no one to answer top. This is something that ANEW can afford to kind of leave on the table here if they can get a good fight in mid lane.
Even though a 4v5, you have to play it almost perfection for the side of ANEW Esports here. I mean, you've got massive gold leads across the board, whether it be Iconic, Value, Shady, or even Syndra here. But we see the Brittle proc come down onto Iconic there, but the healing is just massive for Silas. It does not matter. Good grab, I'm going to get that double root with the solar flares. We see the launch for that bullet time, not quite going to hit. Value going to get the kill onto Winter. We see that Cataclysm deep. Shady is just too tanky. Mike tries to make the escape, forced to flash. We see the Showstopper pushing Five Fire back into turret range here. The Zeta Blade not quite going to connect, but the stun does go through. Value with another kill for himself on the side of Maryville. And now with the inhib down and two members of ANEW gone, can they look to defend this Nexus? The flash forward with the Zenith Blade gets the lockdown on him. Misfortune's Value picks the kill up with the Inferno. Borodor is forced to back off of these Nexus turrets. And with that, Maryville has all but secured game one here against ANEW Esports.
That's not your Nexus anymore, they say. I'm excited to see the draft coming in. I'm excited to see the changes from both staffs, as ANEW will need to make a lot of early to mid-game changes if they even hope to stand ground against this very powerful Maryville Esports team today.
Absolutely. But with that, though, we'll be right back as we get everything organized, hopefully a little bit quicker this time as we look to get into game two. Stay tuned. Hello and welcome back. Getting into game 2 here of ANEW Esports versus Maryville University. Maryville University looked exceptionally great in that first game there, taking it extremely clean pretty quickly over ANEW Esports. But with this, we've got a bit more time to discuss that draft. We did happen to miss out here recently, so I'll let Hat take it away.
Yeah, pretty exciting change of draft here as we see Voter on the Wukong in the top lane. And we also see Niles on his famed Gangplank, which was banned out last game. The bans were for the side of Maryville, Rumble, Zoe, Callista, Orin, and Set, taking the Orin and the Set out of that top lane matchup, trying to put Voter in a tough spot. And that's, I assume, why we'd see the Wukong play here. And then my only assumption is that Niles was able to pick up the Gangplank early on. As we move into the bans for the side of ANEW, we have MF, Trundle, Ezreal, Graves, and Varus, leaving the Aphelios on the table, which tells me that they drafted that early, as Shoryu now has Aphelios. Overall, what I'm seeing from this draft is less of the early game potential and more dragons for the side of ANEW here. As we see trades.
Yeah, just some general trades across the board here. A lot of pressure exuded by Winter here in the bot lane, putting good use to that Thresh, stepping up pretty aggressively against Shady, but Shady is no one to foot here, so I wouldn't be surprised if we see a little bit of the aggressive action, hopefully, once both teams start evening out on the XP. Either way here, Five Fire and Syndra taking the respective poke. Either one. Both, I mean, all lanes respectively pretty even here. Vordor being the only one actually pretty aggressively pushed back.
Exactly.
Actually, he's going to get chased down here from Niles now. Going to step up, run him into that bush there. We see him launch for it. Does not matter. A lack of respect from Vorta there. He still had Flash available, mind you.
That he did. And that's just Niles on his Gangplank here. Really able to assess the lane.
Ooh, gonna see that hook come through there. Great play to push Shady back off of Shoryu as the Ignite ticks down. No one's gonna pick up anything there. We do see Summoner down from Shady, though. Not gonna have that Ignite for a couple minutes. Could be good in the favor now of ANEW.
Exactly.
Uche steps up here, gets a great dredge line. The heal's going to come through onto Shorty, but it does not matter. Shady picks up that kill there. Now they look to continue the chase onto Winter here, slowly ticking this Thresh down. Value still stepping up here. That flash comes again. It's a double kill for Shady here in the bot lane.
That is a great play coming up from Maryville. Not only is Lucian Nautilus such a really strong lane early, just because of the damage, and more importantly, Lucian's getting a buff next patch. This is going to be something that continues to be seen in the bot lane this season. Value getting a lot of value out of Shady's dredge lines here, especially in the early game. And Maryville up 1,500 gold has to feel good, especially when you have scaling picks in the top lane and you have
bit of root. That flash not quite going to get out of there. The slow going to come through from the axe from Mike Young here, launching forward now, going to kill the Syndra down there. Kill going over the way of ANEW Esports finally.
That is a good early rotation coming in from Mike Young. But it is really just a response at this point, right? Your solo lanes, no, your side lanes have both kind of given a couple kills, and you now need to find something, especially because Iconic's on this Karthus, which will eventually become relevant. Gangs from Karthus before 6 are few and far in between, and even after 6 are still more rare. But it doesn't mean he's not a strong pick in the jungle, and that is something we are going to see as there will not be a lot of jungle tension, trying to keep themselves, as you see on the mini-map now, as far away from each other as possible.
That death sentence is going to land. We get the Gravitum root as well. Sure, you're going to step up, get some great poke here onto Shady. Finally, something looking the way here of ANEW in the bot lane. Ooh.
No, not able to finish off that combo here. Five Fire playing it a little bit safe, not knowing where Iconic is. But as you said, the spot lane, I believe they're pushing in because that's just the Infernum gun that Shoryu does have. It allows them to do that
very nice
safely.
Fire.
Yeah. Do apologize. But we are being able to see a lot more safe plays coming in from ANEW here now that they're able to kind of find their footing.
Definitely. Fire is doing great pushing off Wolf off of this mid wave here. And I also like this Winter and Shore. You have a pretty great control over this lane. A lot of that paying respects to the Thresh here, but it's pushing Value and Shady back. And while they were able to pick up those very early kills in response to a bit too much aggression, you still see a lot of control in favor of New in the bot lane. So that's definitely going to bode well for Aphelios as he tries to make his way towards this mid game and scale up appropriately.
And that can be the only hope, I mean, among others, that ANEW has. Getting a good fed Aphelios, or at least having 2 items before 20, is something you hate to see if you're an enemy team, as the Dragon, first Dragon goes over to the side of ANEW here. Olaf doing Olaf things, soloing a Dragon without any response from Maryville here. And honestly, it's not much they could do.
That dredge line was very close in the bot lane. You got to pay a lot more respect to that. Shady going to step up here. We do have Mike in the side lane. The axe going to come down, but the cannon barrage from top lane. That's going to be securing the kill here. Value picks up one for himself, as well as the cannon barrage for Niles. 2 kills going over the way of Maryville. Such a good response from Niles there.
That's great team communication. You can see why they banned out top laners for Vodor, kind of pushing him on that Wukong pick, is because it requires not only a lot of good team communication between Niles and the bot lane, but also not even knowing that Mike Young was there, was able to successfully pick off 2 kills and really push a fight that wasn't theirs to begin with, now into their favor. The only drawback for that is the fact that Shady did pick up both of those kills, or did pick up one of those kills.
Yes. But either way, you've got both sides of the map, the side lanes here, pushing out in favor of Maryville. And while the bleeding isn't as quite severe as it was in game 1 here for the side of ANEW Esports, Maryville is starting to garner themselves a little bit of a lead.
And this is something that I encourage all supports to do. We are seeing Shady push in with the jungler
gank here. Fire going to flash to get that root hooked on there. Shady comes in for the response, but a great death sentence from Winter is going to secure that kill. Unleash power, not quite going to do it. Fire finally picking himself up a kill in the mid lane, and a great response from ANEW in general.
And they just rotated. They just straight up rotated with Winter there. Really good play. What I would have loved to see is the rotation from Iconic and Shady down to mid lane as soon as the pressure started building. If they were there sooner, that might have been a completely different fight. But overall, a good pick from ANEW to kind of stem that gold lead back to a more manageable state.
Yeah, a lot of hope here in Fire and Mike Young here this game for ANEW Esports. That's kind of the 2 that we're going to be looking towards. Shady stepping up pretty aggressively, going to get the dredge line a little bit awry there, but
so damage doesn't matter.
Doesn't quite matter. He's able to do whatever he wants. The Shady, whether it be on Leona or Niles, is just pushing forward so aggressively in game 1 and 2 respectively, and it's paying off.
And we're seeing bot lanes move to the top lane, although we do see Wolf kind of up here as Shady misses that hook. That would have been a good engage for the side of Maryville here as they try to prep themselves for Shelly.
Maryville going to continue pushing up on this wave here. We saw the back from Mike there, so they're not quite going to get the response. But like you said, Shelly, the next contestant, and he's on over the wall there, potentially going to look for that one. Nothing quite yet, though.
No, it's not safe enough to steal. That was a good call on it. If it were me, someone not at that level, I definitely would have tried for that Rift Herald steal. But I'm excited to see how this is played. The only drawback is this solo lane, Vodor and Niles. Vodor is not able to get anything going as he's not been able to farm effectively. And more importantly, you're not seeing a lot of jungle pressure coming up into this solo lane. And so if you're a Gangplank player, this is almost heaven.
Right. Which is bodes great for the side of Maryville here. They're going to get Niles ahead on one of the best champions that he plays. It's under his belt, and he's used it time in, time again here. So that's going to be no surprise as the game goes on. What we're going to be looking here from Vordor is not quite him taking the lane back or reassessing. He's already managing only to come out a little bit even just by 2 waves here. So that's not as bad as we would assume it to be. we're going to be looking as Border potentially comes through with the flanks into these commune fights, looks for Value and Wolf respectively on the Syndra and Lucian. That could potentially give ANEW a little bit of the edge, even if Vordar didn't even quite come out on top of his lane.
Exactly. And I think that's really what ANEW is looking for. They're looking for these small plays that give them that gold advantage because as far as team fights go, if you don't have vision on Shady, it's really hard to start one, or it's really hard to even prep for one as soon as you're spotted out. Because Olaf is a run at you champion. The only way you can Olaf and Wukong are both run at you champions, which are you will see them coming, and the only way to stop it is to adequately prepare for it. They're not jumping over the walls like Five Fire would.
That's definitely something we'll have to watch out for as we start to assess the mid game more appropriately. That Dragon, though, going to be on the Rift here very shortly. We already see a bit of the motion coming out here from the side of Maryville, starting to get in position for this one. We do see the response from Five Fire immediately, potentially looking to gank that bot lane. They're very pushed up here. Five Fire not quite going to hit that rip. The teleport in response going to come out from Wolf.
And that was just more of safety. They had no idea where Winter is, and getting any hooked for both teams is bad. But Thresh Hook into this Dragon Pit is something that I'm waiting to see here as Dragon is started up from the side of ANEW.
They're going to let that Rift Herald push out this bot lane. Meanwhile, we see Five Fire in the back trying to look for a flank as he secures that Dragon. The culling not quite going to finish off Five Fire, and a great Lantern saves the day before that dredge line. Iconic does have Requiem. Not quite going to kill Five Fire. It was just too little damage. He's not quite scaled up yet. Shady still looking potentially for something to pick up for himself. Ooh, that is a terrible place to back. We do see that depth charge as Value picks up the kill on the Five Fire. Little bit too aggressive of a backing location. But either way, it's going to be the Dragon in favor of ANEW. Ooh, look for that death sentence with a flay. Great job from Winter there. Mike going to pick that one up. And continually, this gold is getting situated back onto this mid lane jungler. So ANEW definitely has their priority set for them. Meanwhile, bot lane turret's going to go down here.
No, that they do. And we are seeing ANEW, especially with these first two dragons, which are expected to go over to them. They are trying to take...
Vordor with the Cyclone, trying to get something for himself. Finally, Mike Young coming through with the Ragnarok. They do look to chase this under turret. The shutdown, finally a taste of his own medicine. Vordor picking up a kill in response to this gangplank here. Potentially a few turret plates as well.
Exactly. And while those will go down in about a minute and a half, we are going to get a little bit more gold in the side of Vordor's pocket here for ANEW. But
Shady.
Yeah,
it's gonna be
he wants it.
Oh. A dredge line didn't quite hit because of the clone, but Vordor was forced to back off that turret, so that additional gold that could have been pocketed, not quite available to him.
And good on ANEW, they have been very proactive, and I think that's a great change of pace from game one. Don't let the gold fool you. ANEW has the tempo in this game, but Maryville is playing it as safe as possible. Right. They know they have item spikes, but they don't quite have them yet. For example, Trinity Force on Niles. He really needs to get that. You need to get those Luden's Echo on Wolf here. And Wolf is one of the laners that is kind of coming up short in comparison to last game.
Right. Potentially, because I like how they rotated Five Fire down there to response. Meanwhile, Vordor here going to get aggressed on. Winter finally making the rotation up here, going to be caught by Iconic there. Taken almost down to half health. Meanwhile, Value continually stacking these gold here on these plates here with these platings. Vordor are going to be hit by that depth charge and the Ignite. Value trying to look forward. Sure, you're going to use that heal. Meanwhile, Moonlight Vigil going to come down as they get the root on there. Winter, that death sentence not quite going to hit the culling now. Ticking down as Iconic manages to snipe this man out. One kill going the way of Maryville as they pick up another turret for themselves. Amazing juggling of the damage.
Of juggling missed skill shots right there. Shady being able to hook once, miss the next one, then stopwatch Winter's death sentence. It really kind of set the fight up for them to win because they already had the minion pressure as well. I think if you are looking at any sore spot for the side of Maryville, it is going to be this mid lane, which hopefully Five Fire or Mike Young can exploit here, as I firmly believe that is going to be a path to victory. We are seeing Bork and the Phantom Dancer on this Lucian, which is going to give them incredible fight priority where they can just win. They can just win based on items. We have no first item on Shoryu. And even with that farm lead, it is those kills that are pulling them over the edge and making it so that if you do get Shoryu in that fight, he will not be as impactful as Value.
Maryville, another Rift Herald potentially under their belt here. Don't see any contention coming through from the side of ANEW Esports. Looks like they don't even care. They instead are going to look to push forward here. Niles, he does not face check, throws it down. You're going to see the play come through there. Cannon Barrage with the response with the box, and Death Sense that Ragnarok going to tick through as finally Mike Young picks up the kill for the side of ANEW.
And Mike Young really taking the advice I never gave him, which was doing more things in an early game, especially as your Olaf.
More things.
Well, you saw J4 last game. He wasn't able to make any plays at level 3 or pre-6. Now we are seeing, while it's far past that, we are seeing more Mike Young, and we're seeing places that can catch out those that are split off of their team. ANEW knew they were at Shelly, and so the one person that wasn't on the map was Niles, which was just good foresight from the side of Mike here, as they do get a tower. And while Shelly is safely in the pocket of Iconic, there will be no tower plates taken, so it's mainly going to be used as overall map pressure.
Ooh, but with that map pressure, they're going to throw it down mid. They could potentially lose out on the response here. You got everyone making the rotation from the side of ANEW.
They don't have Niles ult, so it's going to be really hard to do anything under turret.
Yeah, that Rift Herald not quite going to be picking up the turret. The Death Sentence did land on the Wolf there, but there was no appropriate follow-up. Either way here, they threw that down, did not know the location of ANEW, and they got punished for it. Either way, Iconic here going to get launched on with the root there, taken down to 1/4. We see the Cyclone deep in the backline. Value uses the Bork, Unleash Power, going to rip through Vordor there. That culling not quite going to hit the Requiem coming through here. That shield not saving him. Iconic picks up the kill, and now Value steps forward on to Shoryu there. That Severum just barely keeping him alive with the healing. It's going to be just one kill in favor of Maryville. Now we see Firefire deep in the backline, launches on to Whoop there, not quite able to kill, but just barely that auto comes through. Now we see step forward Mike Young with the Ragnarok as we see Firefire go down. He launches forward onto Value. Turret shot, uses the Lantern to come back as I comes through as Iconic is still chasing down Winter. It's going to be a 1-for-1 here. Shoryu and Niles, the only ones left alive on the board.
And Shoryu, if he hadn't lost so much health in that first initial fight, I believe he fully could have cleaned up from what transpired directly after. Overall, I think ANEW played that as best as they could because they were able to get a lot of shutdown gold off the side of Maryville here.
Right, and that resets the board for the Rift here. So now we see everything evening out a little bit. The Infinity Edge is completed officially for Shoryu. We see that Luden's Echo. We see that Black Cleaver. The damage on the board this time for ANEW Esports, they're not quite on the same back foot. And immediately we see the response straight onto the Dragon here. This could potentially be a third Drake, leading them into Soul Point here within the next 5 minutes.
And getting kind of sole priority, forcing Maryville to fear them in there.
Winter here with the Lantern over the wall. Gonna be getting Firefire into the fight here. Shady not quite able to get out before he takes that chunk of damage. They are able to secure that Cloud Drake for themselves, bringing themselves towards Soul Point.
And that is just another thing ANEW will have in their back pocket here, as they are pressured almost all across the map, not having priority in any lane so far, being able to pick up.
Well, I'm looking. He goes over the wall. He is going to be hit by the dredge line, though. Gets killed. Value's going to be one to pick up that. We see the Infernum response finally coming through here from Shoryu. They bring it even, but Firefire a little too aggressive. No need to step forward there.
Especially when you know Shady is very much God tier today on these dredge lines. He's able to just take you out of any cloning. The only time he hasn't done that is with Vodor's little clones that he makes. But overall, again, the map does not suit ANEW because they don't have any pressure. And that really comes down to, have you taken any towers? Have you been able to push vision up? Which is something we see consistently from Maryville.
Ooh, Mike Young there trying to put a little pressure on Niles. He's just too quick here on the board. No ability to close that one out. Either way here, ANEW now needs to take the pressure that they've gained from Mike, take the pressure that they have from Five Fire, and start looking to push out some of these turrets. Objectives, like you said, they can come towards, get the soul point, put themselves back on the map a little bit, but either way, you're going to still have Maryville running you down constantly. You need to start getting proactive and pushing it out much harder, or else you're going to be losing an inhib before you know it.
Exactly. And while it's like, I like to kind of, I think it was Team Liquid playing IG in 2019 playoffs, is they were playing so safe. They were playing so safe the entire game. They hadn't given up a kill, but they were being pushed constantly through map pressure. It's not that ANEW doesn't have the skills to take kills, to push objectives. As you've seen, they do have 3 dragons this game.
Right.
But they are constantly getting pushed in from the map, and from these cross-map plays. Again, and I think it's that tower goal that really needed to push them across, as more and more objectives, more and more jungle camps that are not on their side of the map keep going over to the side of Maryville. And so I'm kind of excited to see where this goes and if they can pull it back, because this game for ANEW is 1 or 1.5 team fights away from really pushing into their favor.
Right. Either way here, we see that Dredge line going to hit onto Vordor there. He's taking incredibly low. The Cyclone going to come out as he launches onto Valley, but it doesn't matter. The Culling going to finish him off. Mike Young stepping up with the Ragnarok there, trying to secure something, but he's just too slippery. We see the hook response come through on Shady as the kill goes over the way of Iconic, securing that double for himself. A misguided engage gone wrong. Maryville stepping forward on the play here. Now we see Five Fire launching on the Niles, going to take him down to half health there. The barrel response coming out very quick. The orange in as well.
Ooh.
They're very equally flashes forward to get that kill. We see the Requiem coming out there. Wasn't quite necessary. But it's going to be 3 kills on the board here for Maryville as they pick up I believe 1 turret here on the map.
And you hate to see it, because we were just talking about,
Potential.
Take one fight, and if they could do it, it's great. And that puts them behind so much, not only in map pressure. As you can see, ANEW needs to, their wards on this top side, they have vision. They know where everything should be, but that's not where Maryville was.
Right.
That is not where, and so they didn't have the rotations down. They did find a potential good fight, but they weren't all ready for it. I don't think Shoryu was ready to take that. Mike Young wanted to go and kill Value, but he just didn't have enough speed, and there was not enough CC on Value to do so. And I think you really need to CC this Lucian if you're going to get anywhere in a team fight.
You know, one great thing Maryville does, and I've seen it time and time again, is they're able to slowly push into the enemy jungle, secure the vision step by step. They don't go for it aggressively. They don't push too far forward and get themselves killed. They just inch forward piece by piece, and they're able to secure themselves so much pressure because of that. Iconic here going to get the slow on to Winter. Meanwhile, the Dredge line going to hit and come down. Shoryu forced to back off here. He cannot defend his support. Kill goes over the way of Shady as we saw that box come down. Either way, another kill in favor of Maryville. And one thing I like to point out, just pairing is what I was saying. They had no concept of vision there. Ooh, Ragnarok used greatly for the Dredge line dodge. We do see the Bork can be used. Meanwhile, as Vordor gets out, like I was saying, the lack of vision, that fog of war Iconic coming through where you don't see him, that secured that kill. And it's something that Maryville does so great. They don't play it aggressively, but they play it smart.
Yep, and play smarter, not harder is always a good term. As we see this 4th dragon potentially for ANEW come up, they do not have priority, but Five Fire has not been seen yet, and if he has, that is definitely a dragon that can be pulled out.
Ooh, Five Fire.
Oh,
Looked to steal it, wasn't quite there. First dragon of the game for the side of Maryville. Now we see Winter and Mike Young stepping up here, forcing the flash out of Iconic. He does not want to be caught out there. Secures himself that little bit of the bounty he has going.
exactly. And while that would have given ANEW Cloud Soul, which it would have helped, especially Mike Young's Ragnaroks, it wouldn't have given him too much else besides Vordor being able to ult a little bit more often. But we haven't been able to see a lot of good Wukong plays because he's been always pushed far back in, especially when he's been laning against Niles. And afterward, it's just playing catch up, which is never a place you want to be as someone as early game heavy as Wukong.
Definitely, and Niles has done a great job there, but they let the ban slip through, so it was no surprise. I mean, this is a champion that this guy literally begs for to happen, to be picked. So Maryville definitely having that on the board leads them in a very favorable matchup.
Yeah, now they're positioning around Baron. They know the vision immediately doesn't exist for ANEW, but they also don't know where they are. They are seeing vision come in from winter, but they probably won't start it until they get picks. And so Maryville is looking for a way to
Shady
apply
here,
pressure.
looking for the potential flank with Iconic. Iconic able to tick down Fire. The dredge line is going to land, but Mike Young uses the lantern thrown from Winter there to get out of that one. They tried to go for a great flank, but it was just barely caught out there from Fire.
That it was. And they're just trying to apply pressure. You see, they're not straying away from that quadrant of the map. They're not straying away from Baron, which has actually been started.
The slow here on the Vordor. That dredge line used on the clone.
Yep, and that's the thing is, the Baron is being started without any pinks coming in from ANEW here. That is just proof of how strong Value is as Lucian right now.
Mike Young here stepping up. Shady going to do his best to stop this man from aggressing onto this dragon. That is going to go, I mean, the Baron going to go over the way here of Maryville. Shady going to take the price for it, uses the flash go lows. You see the calling. Fire going to be able, is finally the Moonlight Vigil from Shore. You picks up the kill there. He's got Grabbing available. Can they clean up any more?
Finally, Nautilus Shutdown Gold does go over to ANEW. Finally, it's you hate to see it, but just taking down such a beefy target, especially with that stone plate, is going to be very difficult for the side of ANEW. The good news is that you're almost at 2,000 gold in the pocket of Shoryu now, and so just being able to, if a larger team fight comes up, whether it be through sieging or trying to establish vision in the jungle, he should be able to have a little bit more power in his pocket. Going against the likes of Value and Iconic here.
Yeah, definitely one hope of ANEW here, waiting for the scaling on Shoryu to come up. He's been a little bit behind in comparison to Lucian here, but that early game damage is finally starting to scale off. Maryville GG needs to secure themselves and finish this one off now that they have the Baron, push, aggress, take these team fights that they have been securing and winning, and then end it before you start seeing these late game monsters across the board.
And you definitely see a lot of humility on Maryville's side. They are just focused on clearing camps. It doesn't matter who gets gold now. It just matters that the resources are gone. And that's pretty impressive coming from a team as successful is that they're able to do that consistently and really move as a unit. League of Legends is best played when you're all thinking about the exact same thing. And it's really hard to pull off because we play League of Legends. And so it's nice to see that. I'm looking for ANEW to really make a play here. They are pushing and extending themselves for Niles, but that's just because the siege potential is going to be a little bit harder in the mid lane for the side of Maryville.
But we do have Shoryu backing off here to go towards the base here. They could potentially pick up the turn here, get the aggression on to Inhiv while he has made that short fall.
Yeah.
Wasn't able to clear that one out. It's the way pushed up. Now Fire going to be caught out here. That Unleashed Power going to come through. Not quite going to pick up the kill there. We do see the Requiem ticking down here as Inhib comes through. Fire still not taken out. We do see that dredge line not quite hitting the back line as we continue their push here. Now looking towards this bot lane. Going to pick up a second inhibitor for themselves. Ooh, we do see the death sentence going to land here on the Shady. Moonlight Vigil going to come down, only going to hit Iconic. Meanwhile, we see the knock up there onto the Thresh from Regine. Now in the backline, the Cyclone coming through from border, but he's absolutely ripped apart from Iconic. Mike Gunn now looks for the aggression on Niles. He's going to throw the lightning from the sky, gets the kill there. Then Infernum not quite picking up on Iconic. We see the return on the dredge line from Shady here. Turns his attention to Wolf. The axe not quite hitting, and now Value ticking this man down from the auto. The smite not quite picking it up there as Mike finally goes down. Now we see Maryville back off here. They ping towards the dragon. They've gotten what they've come for, even if they went down a little bit. Now they're going to continue to secure their lead and pick up some more objectives.
They will. And I think a big part of Maryville's strategy was, oh, so you're giving us mid lane? Okay, fine. ANEW couldn't rotate to where the largest pressure was once they figured out that they couldn't kill Niles being able to escape successfully. And that's just because, as we said before, ANEW ran with we're just going to run at you comp. And when you're being sieged, you can see that coming from a mile away. And so Maryville playing that appropriately granted them two inhibitors and another dragon.
There was a lot of dissonance, though, from the side of ANEW. You saw a lot of aggression very early. Fire was forced out of the fight immediately, by the way.
Yeah.
We saw the Rekko, we saw that come through. So you immediately take out the mid laner. Then we see Shoryu and Winter try to assess something with their bot lane potential, put down the Moonlight Vigil, try to aggressive it forward. And then after all that's done
Oh,
and said, ooh, the dredge line, not quite gonna hit. Either way, after all that's done and said, finally you see Vordor and Mike go in. Potentially, if there was a bit more cohesion here from the side of ANEW, we could have seen something a bit more in their favor, but everything was spaced out, and no one was quite able to get their run in. Either way, here we see the aggression from Maryville, potentially looking for 5-fire. That dash can be pushing off Maryville for a little bit longer here. She's still looking for the aggression, going to be actually going to turret. Uses that dredge line to get out, but he's still going to be hit by the death sentence. Does not matter. This man's a tank. He could take it for days.
that he can. Shady has done a great job positioning themselves in front of the carries, in front of the entire team. And so Winter can never get a really good death sentence off that he can then pull himself in for to use his E. And that has been very detrimental for the side of ANEW here as they're facing a siege that is going to be harder and harder to defend as those super minions start creeping into the base.
Right. So they can simply just wait this one out. They do not have to play it forward or aggressive here. The slow push is what's going to win them the game. You need to start seeing the reaction here, like a great death sentence over the wall onto Iconic there, but a massive hook in response. That kill is going to go over to Wolf. Meanwhile, the Requiem is going to come down as we see the Lantern save onto Shoryu. Takes him low, about down. He's going to be healed up from the sky there, get him up to half health. But meanwhile here, they're going to be able to pick up this turret in the top side and finally secure themselves all 3 inhibs across the board. But that's not it. Maryville continues to look to push this one out, potentially end the series here. Moonlight Vigil going to come down immediately. That's going to be a Calibrum Vigil. Not quite a lot of damage to work with there. Now that ultimate is down for the rest of this fight, potentially. Maryville here going to be actually playing a bit safe. Maybe looking for a mistake here or just playing it very respectfully. They're going to actually back off the base here. Going to take advantage of that slow push now to secure themselves this Baron.
And if you're a new fan, this is the greatest time to type in chat winnable, because they are giving them the space. Not only could they potentially steal Baron, but that is one of the only things left on the board for them, which is why you kind of see them creeping out of base. Not because they're afraid of anything, but because as a last-ditch resort, what can you do to stop this? And that is get Baron-empowered minions on top of these supers. Maryville not being patient enough to siege, but they are taking the smart play on taking this Baron here.
Niles doing a great bit of work here to pressure out against the side of ANEW Esports. Gonna be able to secure that Baron now. Have to see the defense come out here from the side of ANEW.
Yeah, no, it's definitely going to be really hard to find fights, especially when their vision isn't as prominent.
A great dredge line there onto 5-fire from Shady. He's not able to pick it up that long.
He had no vision.
Yeah, just gross. Ooh, Wolf here pushing off 5-fire, but another dredge line from Shady paired through with the unleashed power. Niles gonna be one to pick that one up, and with the mid laner down from the side of Maryville. Oh, the Moonlight Vigil not hitting anything. ANEW Esports ultimates down across the board. One Nexus ticking down. Mike Young trying to save it here, stepping forward, but he's just ripped to shreds. We see that stopwatch come out there. Sportor is taken low. Additionally, that Requiem not quite hitting. Value stepping up deep here as we see another dredge line come through. This Nihilus Sportor comes through with the Cyclones as we see Mike just ticking down towards death. Iconic gonna be picking up the kill onto Vordor, but that is it. Maryville University in a beautiful fashion of 2 games. They can take it quick. They can take it slow. They finish off ANEW Esports easily here on the UPL.
And incredible play, incredible patience coming in from Maryville. This shows not only do they have discipline in their play, but they're able to execute it across many different comps. They didn't run it back again. They didn't pick the Silas again. They were able to firmly establish presence in both of those games. Congratulations, Maryville, on winning today. And this also shows a lot of room for growth, not only in how they're playing their games, but also how ANEW needs to draft or how Maryville needs to prepare for other teams coming down the line, as they will see this game and potentially try to pick it apart.
Absolutely, and ANEW's going to have to make a visit towards Maryville again at some point here on the UBL. They are in the same division, so they're going to have to take it back to them eventually. So hopefully during that time, they could potentially figure out where it went wrong, come up with a new game plan or something to work with here, potentially bring it back to them. But with that, though, they did take a 2-0. Hat, is there any final words you could say here regarding the series as a whole?
Oh, I think everything has been said and done. These games, while maybe not as quick as they could have been, were definitely very dominant. And so I really am excited to see games a little closer to the wire as people start potentially trying to figure out how Maryville's bells and whistles work in this series here. More importantly, for the side of ANEW, I firmly think that they have a lot of work to do, but it's not that their play was subpar. I think they had a game plan coming into mind and they tried to execute it. But at the end of the day, it was picked apart by Maryville. And so just a little more things to tweak, and I'm sure they could be right back on their feet coming in for next week's game.
Well said, well said. Well, with that, I have been your play-by-play caster Z, joined by the lovely Hat here for his actual first debut here on the UPL as my color. And on the behalf of us, the production team, ANEW Esports, Maryville University, respectively, Sam here, who's behind the scenes here, running what was a very technically difficult stream. We all want to thank you for tuning in and showing your support. And we hope you have a great night.